Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Indiana State Police Road Show. I'm your host, Sergeant John Perrine, the Indiana State Police Public Information Officer at the Indianapolis District. The Road Show is brought to you each and every week by our sponsors, Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of the State Police Alliance. We do appreciate the man behind the camera, Mr. Tom Trial, for getting us on YouTube each and every week. I wish most people could see the effort that he puts into that because it's quite incredible.
Yes.
And so we do appreciate them. Thank you to our partners at WIBC and Network Indiana for getting us on the radio stations across the great state of Indiana so that people can hear what we have to say. And today, my guests back again for another show is First Sergeant Ron Galaviz from the PI office downtown. Ron, glad to have you.
Thank you. And
all the way from the northwest corner of Indiana, Sergeant Glenn Fifield from the Lowell District. He's the PIO up there. So,
morning.
You know, this is a time of year that we didn't really think would come, but it's here. And it's been a long time since our drivers have had to share the road with school buses. So we've got to get back into the habit of what to do around those school buses.
Right. You know, and it kind of came, I don't want to say full force, but last week with one of the local media outlets did a school bus inspection interview with Master Trooper Jeff Kastenschmidt. And now, granted, it tied into some other safety features related to COVID, but, you know, again, kind of thought, goodness, we're probably, a month or less, just a few weeks away from that first day of school. Not only for, I mean, you've got school-age kids.
Yeah.
You've got one, but we also have kids in college, so it's that full-blown gamut. But yeah, we're as motorists, you know, we certainly have obligations on the road, and school buses, you know, they command they should command a lot of attention from us in the motoring public.
And, you know, the school buses have our most valuable commodity on board, and that's our children.
Absolutely, they do.
And we'll do everything we can to protect them, starting with inspecting those buses. What maybe some people don't realize is that every single school bus in the state of Indiana is inspected every year by the Indiana State Police.
Yes.
And that's quite a feat, if you can imagine what those undertake. So Glenn, I'm not real familiar with exactly what happens, but what do those inspections, what are they checking for?
I know in my past experience, I've actually had the opportunity to do those inspections, and I know they check the seats, the brakes, the lights, the stop arm, things of that nature, to make sure everything's secure and safe for visibility.
Yeah, and I know that I've seen them. They crawl underneath. They're checking brakes. They're checking tires, and from what I understand, is it's kind of rare for them to go into a school system and not find a couple of issues. Now, rarely do they find major oh no issues, but those issues have to be corrected before that bus can be put in service.
Right, and everything. This is all laid out by Indiana by state law.
Yeah,
and there's actually an inspection manual that our inspectors go by. And it's, I think, on our website. I mean, so it's public information. People can find it and look at it. It's got 175 pages long.
Yeah.
But it details what they're looking for. I mean, so they're looking from the front to the back, top to the bottom of that school bus. And if I remember what Master Trooper Kastenschmidt said the other day, just here in the Indianapolis and the Donut County area alone, we're talking 5,000 school buses.
Wow.
That is an incredible number. And you multiply that times all the other school corporations around the state. Now, granted, some aren't as big as IPS or Fort Wayne Community, but nonetheless, talking thousands and thousands of school buses.
Yeah, we have troopers who their full-time
that is their
duty
full-time job,
is to inspect school buses. And they do it year-round. It's not just before school. Some buses that are of a certain age have to be inspected twice a year.
That's right, if they're 12 years or older.
Yeah, and so, again, hats off to our school bus inspectors and to the school corporations who work so hard to get those buses ready as
Absolutely.
well. But so we talk about routines, and we've had a longer summer break per se than usual. You know, our kids really haven't been on buses since March.
Right.
So it's been a long time since we've shared the road. We get in this routine of getting ourselves to work or whatever, but now we're going to share the road with those buses. What are the number one? When do they have to stop, Ron? When does somebody have to stop around a school bus?
Well, number one, and this is common sense. Obviously, if you are coming up behind a school bus going the same direction and you see those red lights on and that stop arm out, you are required to stop. Now, very easily, when you're on a 2-lane highway and you're coming the opposite direction of a school bus and those lights are on and that stop arm is out, you are required to stop. there gets to be the confusion. Okay, I'm on a 4-lane highway or a multi-lane highway. When do I have to stop coming the opposite direction? And it's very simple. If there is an improved or there's a really improved or unimproved median, if there is a physical barrier between those two sets of lanes, you are not required to stop. So if there's a barrier wall, a grass median, or some other type of
A curb,
something else that is there to restrict movement from one, say the northbound lane to the southbound lane, as an example, you are not required. But if there's nothing there,
a turn lane, right? If there's a turn lane, that doesn't count as a barrier.
that does not. It has to be a physical barrier.
I think we're all familiar with those types of roads where they'll have 2 lanes each direction and a turn lane in the center.
Yep.
Now, I know my experience with school bus directors is they do everything they can not to have kids crossing 4 lanes of traffic. They'll reroute their buses so that they're always on the right side. But the most simple thing that I can tell people is this: if you're ever in doubt, if you're approaching a school bus with red lights on and you have to ask yourself, do I need to stop? The answer is yes. Just stop.
Yep.
If you're not sure, just stop, because we can avoid the tragedy of somebody getting hit. We know that kids are unpredictable, but not just on and off the bus. We're going to have kids standing at bus stops very close to the roadway.
Yes.
It's time to focus and make sure that those kids aren't going to run out in the road.
Or or what if a piece of paper or a ball or something else goes rolling or blowing into the roadway? They always expect that. We talk about drivers, defensive driving, expect the unexpected. The same thing goes for whether it's a moving school bus or a stopped school bus with red lights and stop arm.
Yeah,
I think it's important to remember too that these children now are going to be wearing masks when they get on the bus, because I believe it's going to be required for kids getting on buses. So it's one more distraction, and they're not probably not going to fit perfectly.
Yeah.
If it's windy or if it's cold, they might be messing with them. I mean, I can see mine right now. So you can imagine a kid, carrying a backpack, or it comes loose and he wants to grab it, or a child messes with someone else's mask and pulls it over their eyes, or who knows what. All kinds of things could happen while they're crossing that street.
Yeah, so now, of course, it's that time of year, and it takes a little while to get into that routine, but I can assure you the Indiana State Police is going to be working with local school districts in some of those problem areas. If they call us and say, hey, we've got these cars passing our stop arm, we'll respond along with local and county sheriffs, and we'll watch those areas. And because obviously one of our highest priorities is the safety of our children, especially on those school buses and things. But also in those school zones. Most of the time, Ron, in a school zone, the speed limit is going to be reduced. And we're coming up on the time of year where that's the time.
Right, and they're going to be significantly reduced. And a lot of times they'll either be signified by a flashing light and or signage saying, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 20 miles per hour from 7:30 a.m. until 4 p.m., which is the duration of the school day generally. So please be cognizant of those signs. Look for those lights. But also, if you live in or work in and around a school area, you should know, especially if your kids go to that school, there really aren't too many excuses that would justify you driving 10, 15, 20 miles over the speed limit through a school zone, which unfortunately, not only we, but the local agencies in those areas see, far too often.
One thing I see all the time are signs in yards that says, drive like your children live here.
Yeah.
Drive like your children are on that school bus. What would you want someone else to do if your child was getting off that school bus or getting on that school bus? So it's kind of another way to look at it as well.
The number one thing is you got to be patient. You've got to be patient. You got to understand that, the 2 or 3 minutes that you may be delayed for stopping by a school bus or slowing down through a school zone is going to be well worth to not have the consequences of being in a crash or hurting or killing somebody.
Right.
I often hear the excuses in school zones of, I don't understand why. Look, it's 12:30. There's no kids outside. The school sits a quarter of a mile off the road. Why do I have to slow down out here? And I always tell people the school zones aren't designed just for pedestrian traffic. It's not because kids are going to be crossing the road. It's just there's just a congested area of traffic in and out. Unpredictable things could happen. It's just slowing down and heightening your awareness.
Yep, absolutely. And it's far easier to do it in a larger time frame, say 7:30 to 4 again, than breaking up from 7:30 to 10, and from 10 to 2 you're okay to drive a normal speed limit, and then from 2 to 4, that would make it more confusing and even worse.
Yep.
So, having that one set time frame is just as easy. And you've got younger kids in an elementary school. I mean, you see the traffic in and out of that school all day. Parents coming to pick up their kids for appointments, taking them home because they're sick. The UPS driver, school buses taking on a field trip or whatever the case may be. So there's always vehicular traffic.
That's a great point. At my school system, Valparaiso High School is encouraging parents to drop their kids off rather than the buses.
Oh, boy.
So you can imagine the congestion like you're talking about going in and out of a major school, let alone an elementary school.
Well,
where you're going to have walkers.
And the reason I
stuff
say
like
oh boy is because we've all experienced that pickup or drop off line at school.
Yes.
And if we're talking about increasing that, which I understand as a parent, that's a good choice if you have to make the decision. But be patient in those. I mean, sometimes those lines spill out onto the roadway. Be smart. Be cognizant if you're sitting on the roadway. Keep your seatbelt on. Keep your children buckled up while you're sitting out there. Don't let them be running around while you're waiting, because if somebody does come along and rear end you or hit your car, you definitely want to be buckled up in the car.
And then if there's somebody up there directing traffic, whether it's in the parking lot itself, which is on private property, and you have somebody, just simply follow the directions, because they're trying to not only ease that congestion, but make sure that you're getting to that drop off or pickup point safely for your children, but also for the safety of everybody else.
And there's no perfect system.
There's
you have 200 or 300 kids that are trying to load up in 200 or 300 cars. It's very, very difficult. So just please, especially those first few weeks of school, as the administrators figure out who goes to what car and all that, because I know that's one of the difficult things. So please be patient. As you're.
And so, real quick too, one of the other things is, we're not going to sit here and chastise anybody for their time management skills, but I think maybe getting your day started 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes earlier, half hour earlier, to help counteract some of that, to make things go a little bit more smoothly, I'm not going to say it will, but may go a long way to help easing some of those early morning stresses that, getting everybody ready out the door into school. So
definitely.
And again, it's hard to think about schools, and I know different schools are doing different things across the state right now, and those decisions are still coming in. But it's important, and those buses are going to be out there.
Yep.
We have experienced tragedies in Indiana at bus stops and with crashes and school buses and things like that. And gosh, I just hope that this could be a year where we don't experience that.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. We've definitely had our unfortunate share, and it's again, as a law enforcement agency, we ask and we plead with the motoring public to please help us. And so that's simply all we're asking. Please just be cognizant of these transportation vehicles, because again, like you said, John, they are carrying our most precious commodity.
Yeah, and again, Glenn, those buses have been rigorously inspected. The drivers are very well trained, but there's just so many variables when those buses are out there.
Right. I mean, they're a larger vehicle. Their vision is going to be not what it is in a car. So it's like they're a truck, a semi, and also they're watching the children on the bus, so they have more going on as a driver than a normal driver.
And that's one other thing too. Maybe as a parent, I think maybe we should. I don't want to say this. Let's talk to our kids about what it is that they're doing at the bus stop and how they can be safe, maybe standing back off the road and not really doing anything until that bus comes to a stop and the bus driver has made eye contact or maybe even makes a motion. Okay, now it's safe to come. Even if it's on the same side of the street, because that bus driver is making sure that all traffic around them is coming to a stop and doing those things. So there's a lot of things clamoring for his or her attention, sitting up there, a couple feet higher. And
now it's daylight in the morning, so it's something that's hard to think about. But as you're shopping for a backpack or shoes or whatever, think about reflectiveness. Or buy some reflective tape and stick it on the back of their backpack. Just anything that's going to increase their visibility as they're walking to and from that bus stop.
So absolutely.
So here we are, getting ready to start school. Buses on the ground. We're asking everybody to be careful, share the road. Routines are going to change. Be patient. You see those yellow lights start flashing on a bus. It's not like a yellow stoplight. It's not time to hit the gas and try to beat it. Those yellow lights mean you need to be stopping.
Right.
right? The drivers are going to give you enough warning. If you see the yellow turns to red, you must stop. Know when you must stop, and let's share the road with the buses and make it a safe year for everybody. Thanks for tuning in.